Well, here we are again. As you can see from the title, we will be looking at my plant collection. Scratch that, our plant collection. And we have probably about 15 plants or more, and it's been added up because we have propagated a few. There are others that are in process of propagating, so we have a lot of plants, and we are very proud of each and every one of them because we have worked really hard to maintain them and make sure that they're healthy and happy. I know that in Google you can look up the information for every plant. I actually use this app, Plant Identifier. Picture this, that's the app that I use, and it really helps you identify the kind of plant that you have. Without further ado, let's get started. And here is our plant collection. First off, we have the ZZ plant. We got it when it was about this small, probably. So the ZZ plant is a really good indoor plant. It actually purifies the air. Plants are really good air purifiers, air cleaners. I don't know how you would say that. You don't have to water it that often. I think maybe once or twice a week, or maybe once a week would be just enough. If you do overwater them, then just stop watering them, maybe skip an extra week or two. So according to the app, it says that this plant contains toxic chemicals and some animals may experience toxicity or be poisoned, but our dog has been super fine with it. Well, he doesn't really eat our plants, so I think that's the main reason why we haven't seen anything going on. I would just be really careful because it does say that it's poisonous. But basically, it purifies the air, it cleans the air from any toxic organisms or microorganisms. Then we have the devil's backbone. Now, this is a very not so pretty name for a plant, of course, but that is the only name that I found that comes out online. I'm not really sure the scientific name of it. Let me show you. This was actually one of the many plants that I was gifted by a dear friend of mine. She had a lot of plants surrounding her house, and she just gave me like a little small pot of it, and then I just kind of started propagating it, and now I have like 3 different pots. To propagate it, you have to just cut right below the node. You'll get like this one right here, this one, and then I would just cut it right below the node. You put it in water, just regular tap water works just fine, and then after a few weeks it'll start forming roots, and it is so cool because once the roots are fully grown, you can just put it in dirt. It'll keep growing that way. It's one of the easiest plants that I've propagated, at least. I've heard that you can leave it outside in full sun, and I've tried it before. It has worked and it's been alive for a few days, but after like weeks of it being outside, you have to really be careful because you have to maintain it like not too dry and not too wet. I found best that if I put it really close to a window where it gets plenty of light, it needs that light, it needs to absorb it, and also it doesn't really need that much water either. You have to let it dry in between waterings and it'll be just fine like that. So next we have bromelia. I think that's the way you pronounce it. So that one is one of my favorite ones as well. It's one of the first plants I actually owned, and in the beginning it was dying on me because you have to kind of experiment and try to figure out how your plants work and survive in your house. It also does not need a lot of water. It does need a lot of light though, but if you leave it outside, it'll just kind of bend all ways. Sideways, so it's just better to leave it inside close to a window where it gets plenty of light, and don't water it too often, just every 2 weeks. So next we have this small but weirdly shaped dwarf umbrella tree. That one is actually Marcelo's, my husband's plant, and in the beginning I would kind of let him take care of it. It's not my favorite plant because the way that it's shaped, like it's cute because it kind of like forms into a little umbrella, but the way that it grows is not straight up. It goes like sideways and bends up and down. So with the dwarf umbrella tree, you do have to kind of water it a little more often. So if like the top 1.5 inch is dry on top of the soil, then that means that it needs to be watered. Next we have the boat lily. The boat lily is actually one of my favorite plants that we have. It is so pretty. The boat lily, what I've noticed is that you have to let it dry in between, and it's best not to wet the leaves because if you wet it, they kind of just like get moisty, and then they just start falling and getting like rotty, like they'll rot. You can spray it every once in a while to kind of maintain it, maintain the humidity. I probably water it like once every 2 weeks maybe, and I do make sure that it's completely damp, and then I don't touch it again. We don't leave it too close to the window. I think a little farther away from the window, but as long as it has enough light that's reaching it, it's really good. Now the boat lily is a very special plant because it will also yellow if you move it around too much. So it likes to be in a specific spot. It's also called Moses in the cradle because, well, my plant doesn't have them yet and they haven't come out. I don't know why, but they will start forming like a little boat shape, and then little lily flowers will come out. So I think that's really cool. The other plant that I recently got was the Heart of Jesus plant. I don't know if it's Heart of Jesus or Elephant's Ear. Maybe it's the same thing. I recently got this one. I had put it kind of farther away from the window and the leaves just started falling. Once I put it like super close to the window, it was doing so much better. And then what I did is I just kind of got like little like strings that I found in the house and kind of just wrap them together. And then we have the Monstera plant. A friend of mine gifted it to me, and I'm really happy that she did because she put so much work and effort into it, and it finally like sprouted out into one leaf that she kind of planted or propagated from her actual original Monstera. And that one I do miss it very often. I try to do it every morning and every night. Sometimes I forget or I don't have time, so I just, you know, like during the day I'll miss it. It does like to be moist and like humid most of the time, and when it rains, that's when I think it becomes even more prettier and greener. So I take it out when it rains, or I'll just leave a bucket outside, and then from there I'll just keep using the rainwater to water it when it needs water. So it does really good, and I'm happy with my Monstera. Oh yeah, so we have two big what's it called, arrowroot head plant. Yes, that's actually the very first plant I ever got, together with the devil's backbone. And that one has survived through thick and thin, winter and cold and hot weather. It has been through everything and it has still survived, and now it is. I have a big one outside that I keep under the shade, but I water it very often in the morning and at night. And it's doing fine. Usually it burns, like the direct sunlight burns its leaves, so it's not very good to leave it outside. But since it's shady most of the day where it's at right now, then it does fine. The other one that we have is a pothos. Well, that one's mine. I got that one gifted from Marcelo. I put it in the kitchen on the wall, and it's not really growing as I would like for it to be, but it's not dead yet. It has grown a few centimeters, but it's not nearly there where I want it to be. Maybe in a couple of years or months it will be there. I do have a few propagating in water from the ones that I've already mentioned. We do have this other plant. It's so cute. It's a succulent like plant. It's called elephant bush. This one right here. We've actually broken some of them off and kind of like separated them into little smaller pots. So this one we keep it outside 24/7, and it does really good. I mean, direct sunlight and everything. If we don't water it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, it does just fine. It's like a succulent. It holds the water in. That one is probably the easiest plant that we have to take care of, apart from the snake plant. So we also have the snake plant. This one's falling. I have no idea why. I've seen this one outside in other houses, like people have it in others. People have it outside of their homes, and they kind of just grow from the normal dirt. But I don't really like to keep it outside. I feel like it will burn, and I don't want it to burn, so I just leave it here. I've heard and I've read that it does perfect in low light conditions, and it's doing fine. I don't think it grows as fast as it could, and the leaves aren't as stiff as you can tell, but it still does fine. I recently watered it. Maybe that's why it's like that, because it's probably still too wet on the bottom. It's still wet on the bottom. I can feel it. They do really good if you don't water it too often, and I probably water it like once a month maybe. This one and the elephant bush don't really need that much maintenance, so you can get these two to start with, or like a snake plant to start with, and then just kind of, you know, treat it as your first official plant if you do get one, especially right now since you have a lot more time than usual and you're at home all the time. You have time to keep an eye on your plant and take care of it, and they'll take care of you. So that's the beauty of plant. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you're new to this channel, then let me just tell you that I post basically about anything that I'm passionate about. It's like vegan food, minimalism, ethical shopping. This, I got it at Goodwill for like $2 and it's super comfy. And I talk about a lot of other stuff like plants in this occasion. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.